If you watched the video that I shared earlier in the month, this is from the same shoot. This is my second model for this shoot. This was a creative, and the focus of this creative was video content. We also shot some stills, and we were playing with direct light, and the direction for the makeup was just really glowy skin. So I'm starting skin prep in the same way that I did with my other model. I'm using Weleda Skin Food. I find Skin Food just adds a beautiful glow to the makeup. It creates a nice tack for the makeup to adhere to. And I was going to be testing a new foundation for this, not new in the market, but new to me. And it's a long wearing foundation, which can usually pull moisture from the skin throughout the day. So I wanted to make sure that this model's skin was prepped properly. The foundation that I'm testing, you can see me here just pulling it off my palette, is the Maybelline Superstay Skin Tint. Yes, it's a drugstore foundation. I really love the finish of this. If you check out this foundation in the drugstore, you will see there's like a pearlized finish to it. And on camera, these types of products tend to work very well in a direct light setting because it makes the skin look glowy and not too oily throughout the shoot. So for me, that was my primary focus. Also, we can see this model has absolutely beautiful skin, and it was really just about making that skin glowy again without the product looking too visible because I am working in video. And I find for this model's skin tone, which is neutral, almost olive, Maybelline had a few shades that I mixed together that worked really, really well. Testing this foundation out a few times on myself, I found that a rounder, fuller synthetic brush works really well for application. Pressing and buffing motion, like press the product on first, then buff it out, that is what I found works really well. And you'll see here, I'm working quickly, but I'm trying to make sure that there's makeup all across the face. Because we're shooting video, I can't leave parts of the skin bare. The camera will pick up textural differences, so you'll see me making sure I have makeup around the nose, on the eyelids, down the neck. I put makeup on her ears as well because I want the finish of the makeup to be universal and I don't want the camera to pick up any inconsistencies. So it's really important that I blend out this foundation all over the face because I am shooting in a direct light path. For me, I find sometimes you can't tell when that light is going to really take all the structure out of the face. So I like to make sure that even in the natural makeup looks that I'm doing, I add dimension. And I'm doing this by just applying a few different shades of foundation and just really shaping her face. And you can see how beautiful the shape of her face looks. She already has naturally high cheekbones, but I'm going to do a little bit of extra work to make sure those cheekbones really show up and her features really show up on camera. You will see me also later on kind of shape her nose as well. I'm going in with the Makeup Forever concealer. I want to make sure the consistencies and finishes of the products are very similar. So I don't want to use a matte concealer because it will show up on camera. So the Makeup Forever has a skin finish, which is why I'm using it. Just pressing that in as best as I can. And I usually set that concealer with the RCMA No Color powder because I don't want that baked look. And powder texture shows up when you're doing macro videos. So when the camera's very close up, sometimes it can pick up powder texture. So that's why I'm pressing in a lot. I'm using not a lot of powder. I just want the skin to look like skin. I am adding a liquid highlighter just to the high points. I didn't really have a solid plan for this makeup look. I wanted things to be natural and glowy, but I didn't have any specific products in mind outside of the foundation that I wanted to use. So as everything came together, I kind of just started to visualize a little bit more intentionally where I wanted to put certain things. And I wanted to make sure that her skin wasn't overly dewy, so that liquid highlighter just worked well on the eyes. What I'm doing here is just adding some powder. I added some RCMA powder, but then went over with the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish powder, I think it is. So the Charlotte Tilbury pressed powder, because I just wanted tiny bit more coverage and just a softer finish down the T-zone. It was risky to do that, but I've done this before and it worked out well. It didn't look too powdery. What I'm taking here is the NARS cream bronzer, and I'm using NARS because NARS Laguna, I believe is the name of the shade, but I'll list the shades for you of everything that I use, is excellent on olive skin, and she is more of a neutral to olive. So when I'm choosing shades, I'm keeping everything analogous, right? So everything with the same undertone, and the NARS bronzer is the best for that, and cream bronzer over powder, just because I don't want the camera to pick up the finish difference. So if I were to go powder over liquid foundation in this case, or powder bronzer, it wouldn't look as healthy on camera. So that's what I'm doing here. Through the process, I'm constantly stepping back and looking at my model's face in the mirror, just kind of checking things out. I figured she needed some definition on the eyes, but nothing crazy. And when I can't think of anything else, just use the same bronzer. It looks great on her skin. So I took some of that cream bronzer and just applied it over the eyes. Another pass of the Charlotte Tilbury powder, because I'm watching how her skin is kind of reacting to everything. And I was just feeling like a softer finish down the T-zone was looking really good on her. So that's what I did. And now I'm going in with some of the Danessa Myricks cream blush. This is just a base of blush, and then I'm going to set that with a powder blush, but it's a specific powder blush. I know I said earlier on I don't like using powder, but this blush specifically looks really beautiful on camera. So I'm taking a little bit of that blush and also applying it on her lids just for consistency, and you will see the blush in just a sec. It's the YSL Make Me Blush Powder Blush. I actually opted for something that was a cooler tone just to keep everything with the same undertones of her skin, and I think it looked really beautiful. And I know for a fact that this blush photographs like a cream on camera, which is why I'm using it. If this was my first time using that blush, I probably wouldn't take the risk on this type of job, but I knew it was going to be fine, so I'm just working that in. And you'll see me kind of use different brushes and really press in product again, because I'm scared of, not scared, but I want to make sure that on camera everything looks really good. And that's one of the tricks to making sure your work looks beautiful in stills and in video. You just have to be very thorough with your blending. So again, to get that uniform finish, a little bit of that blush on the eyelids, it sets everything so nothing moves. We're going to be shooting for a couple hours. So I usually, if I see anything creasing, a little bit of creasing is fine, but not a ton. So the powder will help that. Now with her brows, I didn't want to go overboard with these brows, and it's very easy to do so with this shape. So I'm using a brow gel. I believe the brow gel that I was using is the Ardell Brow Glue, and I am not fighting her natural shape. It's not everyone's brows need to look the same, right? Like the same style doesn't need to apply for everyone's brows. And because this is a natural shoot, my thinking is if her brows look a certain way naturally, why am I going to fight against that? Also, we know brow gels tend to leave a residue on the brows, and I don't want that visible in the video. The stills, that can be corrected in editing after the fact, but in video, you have to be very careful. So I'm just brushing the brow gel through, and then I'm being more particular about the direction of the hairs. I don't want to fight her natural hair growth pattern too much because I think she has beautiful brows. So that's what I'm doing here, just like being cautious, taking my time, making sure I don't overload the brows with brow gel. While I was waiting for the brow gel to set, I was like, you know what? She needs more blush. So I'm just adding that here. You can see a little YSL brand shout out for you. Photographer is also in the back grabbing some behind the scenes. So it's nice to have that YSL product featured if you do, or if you're an artist that's thinking about, you know, some brand content. It's nice to have the odd thing in there. I'm taking this little skinny brush that I got from the art store for probably $5. I mix in some Anastasia Dip Brow with Inglot Duraline, and I just paint in individual hairs. And that's really all I'm going to be doing for this brow. You have to be so careful with dark brows, especially with natural makeup looks, and I have learned this the hard way many, many times. You just can't go overboard. You have to really tailor the individual brow to the person. I'm not trying to do like a specific style of brow. I'm just trying to make her natural brows look as good as they can be without them looking too unnatural or without them taking over the face. So that's what I'm doing here. Just taking my time, brushing through a little bit, filling in with that tiny brush. That's the technique that I find works best for me. We're all done makeup for now. I sent her over to hair. Here's a video that I took with my cell phone, I believe, and you can see the direct light that I'm talking about. I'm going to show you a still that I took with my phone as well. So that's what that looks like, and I'll link you to what the final photos and video look like.